Hi, welcome to another episode of Beyond the Numbers. I'm Marian Ashley, your host and the owner of Nirvana Business Consulting. I'm very excited about this episode because I have a client, a friend. I am a client. I'm going to be a future client of hers, LaTavia Alexander, owner of LA Legal Solutions. She is a lawyer who practices in estate planning, contract law, legacy planning. I've been on a series of hers called Legacy Conversations. I think this is going to be a really good episode because we talk more about just some of our similarities in Black American culture and professionals and the importance of estate planning. And I think you are going to get a lot of good tools out of here. Additionally, I will make sure to include her link in the description so that you can inquire about her services if you are looking for legacy planning, estate planning. I believe that throughout your whole life, you should probably have an accountant and a lawyer, if at all possible. And we talk about our unique perspectives and how we offer our related services. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to Beyond the Numbers. Thank you so much, LaTavia, for coming on the podcast. I first want to introduce the audience to you, and let's talk about a little bit about you and how you got into law, and specifically how you got into focusing on legacy planning, entrepreneurial protection, and contract law.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
It's like if I feel almost feel like it's one of those things you see the post of like, oh, the people who made it, the trip that made it out the group chat. I feel like anytime we get together in this forum, it's okay, we did it, we made it happen. But thank you. I'm really happy to be here and to be able to be part of this. A little bit about me. I always, as cliche as it sounds, like I became a lawyer since I knew I wanted to go to law school or be a lawyer. I want to say sometime in like third or fourth grade. And then my family would never let me forget it. But the civil rights movement, I think learning about that was what drew me to the law initially. But what kind of kept it was just as I got older, seeing things that happened with my parents, or my family, like contractors, or just different things happening, people getting screwed over. Essentially, then it's I want to be able to do something about it. Or I've always been the one that figure something out and then tries to explain or help other people connecting. So that was, let's say, what was the draw and also what kept me. And then after being in law school and then starting to work and realizing how all this stuff actually works, it was like I did take an interest in employment things and the business law related classes and contracts because I just like, hey, there's a contract applies in every industry. The law touches everything. And then it was once again things happening with my family, I would say that kind of drew me back to estate planning. And for businesses, a lot of the people in my family are entrepreneurs, whether formally or just, hey, I'm just like kind of mom and pop type of things. And so it was, I want to be able to understand what's going on and help them. And so once I decided to start my own law firm, it was like I want to focus on small business owners and helping them with the kind of the our catchphrase tagline is building and protecting legacy. And that's where it's if whether it's you have an idea and you want to start doing the business, okay, let me help you get it set up. Pick the right entity for you, what makes the most sense for you. If you heard somebody say or you saw some post about, but let's start there. Let's build a strong foundation, depending on what you're doing. You have the name itself. Let's make sure we're protecting the name. And that's where the trademarking and copyright piece comes up. I've worked with some creatives. So or even if it's you develop a process for something, your trade secrets, what are we doing to protect those things? And then, like I said, the estate planning or legacy planning, as I like to call it, for individuals, just your family, we have a right
Yes.
and say what we want to happen while we are alive, as well as once we pass away. Making sure you have that in a plan. And then for business owner, like you spend all this time building it up. You've got a successful business, whether it's because you want to build it up and leave it for your family or others to run and it to exist after you pass away, or even if the plan is to sell it at some point, having things in place so that you can do that and you can do things on your terms and not feel like you get backed into a corner and are making a decision reactively.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you and I have a similar approach to how we talk to our clients and just how we're you're my client and I'm going to be your client eventually. Lawyers and accountants go hand in hand,
Yeah.
especially the type of law that you do. And so oftentimes we are there for folks in many stages of their life, especially with you. Okay, you have your business successful. What do you do with that? Or maybe, unfortunately, if you have a loss of a family member or your family member is transitioning, what do you do with that? It's just, you're so involved in your clients' lives. What I'd like to know a little bit more about is your approach to working with clients. How do you work with clients differently than like your traditional law firm?
I I'll preface it by saying I don't have a whole lot of traditional law firm experience.
That's
But what I know and just what I've learned, I would say what makes a difference is I approach people as people. First and foremost, as simple as it might sound, but I approach people as people, just like, hey, let me get to know you. What are your goals? I literally start most of my consultations with what are your goals? What are your questions? What do you know? What are you trying to do? And if we're talking and talking about business, what is the idea? How does it work? Tell me about the business. Why do you do what you do? Where do you want to go? Like, I legitimately get excited about my
right.
clients' ideas and their businesses, especially seeing them grow. So it's the people first approach. And then it's just more of a, hey, tell me what you're trying to do and where are you trying to get to? And
Right.
then I bring in, okay, here are the applicable laws or restrictions, and this is some things to think about. So it's not just, hey, this is the law. Let me do this document for you. But I try
Yeah.
to be more holistic with it. Of so some of it is going to be legal. Some of it's just going to kind of be general advice of consulting of, hey, does this make sense? And then the similar with the estate planning is what are your goals? Like, who is important to you while you're alive? Who are the people or the things that you want to make sure are taken care of in the event that something happens to you and you're not able to continue working or your income changes or once you pass away? Like starting from there, of what is the goal? And okay, now here are some tools that can help you accomplish those goals. Here are some things we need to avoid. Specifically with the estate planning piece, I emphasize, hey, these are the things that you have control over. And these are the things that, whether we specifically, like if you're thinking about a will or even the trust, like there's certain accounts and things that it doesn't matter what you write down. If you haven't updated that contract, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so that is, I would say it's people first and not hitting. I don't see people as numbers or just another client or something to do.
Yeah.
There's oftentimes I've told people called saying, hey, I want XYZ. And by the end of the call, I'm saying, hey, you actually don't need this.
Right.
You can do this on your own. And I always was like, I'm not trying to just charge you. I don't want to charge you for something just for the sake of saying that I charged you. I want to make sure that if you're going to pay me for a service or a product, is actually what you need. And then it's something that you understand
Right.
you have it, because I'm not going to be with you there every day to
Right.
do it. So there's also, I guess I always emphasize an educational component of, yeah, here's this form but let's make sure you understand why you have, not just because you have to have it or you need to have it. Why do you have it? What does it say? What are portions that, like, I do provide like independent contractor agreement. That's one
Mhm.
where, hey, let's make sure you understand what these different portions mean. And so that you can adjust as needed.
Yeah.
And if something comes up, you also know what your document says.
I think it's underappreciated when it comes to small business owners. You don't have, like, people say you need a lawyer, you need an accountant, you need someone to help you out, but they don't really give you an idea of what that actually means, right? Because we have
Right.
this technology where it's, oh, I can just go grab this form here, grab this here. But the cost or the value comes in the education. And having a firm, I say not traditional, who knows what tradition is, but like having a firm like yours and even like mine on the accounting side gives us so much control over how we interact with our potential clients. Yes, we might leverage the things that are out there because they might go out on the gram or whatever and say, there was this document that I pulled off of this website. I think I could just use it, but I need help and guidance through this. Let me talk to my lawyer. Let me talk to my accountant. And you find that you build these relationships with people like long term because they have you as a educational resource. So I think that's pretty amazing. So we're going to go into the nitty gritty.
Okay.
Let's talk about some legacy planning stuff. Many people think that
when it comes to legacy planning that you have to be like ridiculously wealthy. And based on what you're saying, that's not the case. Like it could be people who have small businesses or you have some kind of assets. How do you define that in what you're offering to your clients?
No, I was one of those people. Oh,
Me
I
too.
don't have a big old mansion. I don't have an estate. So I don't need that, or my family doesn't need that. But that is wrong.
Yeah.
I gotta look, if you are alive, you need a plan.
Mm,
Even if, because like I'm young, I don't have any kids, I don't have this, or I don't have any assets, you still need to have a plan. So and
yes.
I look at it as there's the life planning and then the legacy planning piece, because when we're alive, we never know what's going to happen. You could get sick or even you get injured, especially for those who are small business owners, where it's just you and your business, or it's a small team. If you get injured, especially if your business is one that requires you to go do stuff, be mobile, now you can't. What's in place? So it's a matter of having documentation in place. So a lot of small business owners are LLC. So do
Yeah.
you have an operating agreement? It's not required, but it's strongly recommended. So having that operating agreement that talks about what happens if you are injured, if you pass away, who can take over? Who do you want? Do you have people in place for that? If you get sick, who's the person who's going to be able to make those decisions for you? What you want to have happen with the business. So it's also insurance. Do you have business insurance? I used to laugh at the Aflac commercials, and I didn't fully understand who they were or why it was important. But then in this space, not that you have to go with an Aflac, but companies like or that type of coverage, it's there for that purpose of,
Yeah.
as a business owner, if you get injured and you're not able to work or something happens, or say a family member and you now have to become a caretaker, so you can't put as much time into your business, bills still come.
Yep.
They say they care, but they don't
They don't
really.
care. They care about their money.
They still want that money. Rent, mortgage is still due
Mhm.
and so you need to have things in place to cover you when those happen for women, or not just women, but women who are having children. And that
Yeah.
was something I had to realize or work on myself as a business owner of, while I was pregnant. Okay, I'm still working for most of it, but hey, after I pop this baby out, I want to be able to take a little time and not be worried about how things are going to get covered and
Yeah.
not feeling like I got to rush back to
Yeah.
work. And so it's having things like that in place.
Mm,
So again, it's a holistic thing. It's not just, do I have a will? Do I have a trust? It's life insurance. Have you talked with your accountant, your CPA
yeah.
about how do we plan for the lifing moments or the unexpected?
Yeah. I think I've said this to you a lot. Like accountants, lawyers, and maybe if the accountant is not like a financial planner, are
Yes.
like the trifecta of like consultants, a business owner, or just a person who's doing life should
Mhm.
work with. Just because we all work well together, the legalities of a thing, the tax implications of a thing, and maybe even, okay, now this is the money that you have to invest, go invest. That's very important. And like we said earlier, we both had this misconception about legacy planning. Like, I don't have a big old mansion, but you have life. You're probably working. You probably have a 401k. You might own a house. There's so many things that you have that's going on. And then, of course, the unfortunate things of life happen too, with possible disabilities and all the things that could happen. So that's good to know. I would ask, you went over this a little bit, but what are the misconceptions that business owners and families have about estate and business planning?
I think one of the biggest ones is, I'll get to it later. I've got,
Yeah, I got time.
we're all guilty of that, even myself.
Yeah.
Sitting here talking to you, there are some things that it's still on my to-do list that I have not checked off. So there's a little pot calling kettle black here. I will say that. But yeah, I think it's the time that I have time, or that it doesn't apply to me because I only will minimize, especially in our community. And I'm
Yeah.
sure it applies to everyone. I know for a fact that in ours it's, oh no, I need to build this up first and then I'll do that. Or so those are, I would say, that's the overarching misconception. And then within that, it's it costs too much, or I don't have enough
Yeah.
to leave any, I don't have anything, or this just assumption that, well, it's gonna automatically go to this person or that person. Those are, I would say, the biggest ones. And
Yeah.
then from there, and then the other, if I talk about it, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Oh,
We're all going to die at
it's gonna
some
happen.
point.
Yes.
No, we don't know. And the Bible says we don't know the day or the hour, but like we don't know exactly when or how, but it is going to happen.
Yeah.
So talking about it is not going to speed it up. It's I look at it and understand, what can I do today that is going to make life a little less stressful,
Right.
ease some anxiety and pain and suffering for myself as well as for those that I love. Because
Yeah.
when someone passes away, it's a tough time. We're going to be grieving already.
Mm.
Head on. Now I got to go figure out where you kept, like, where did you have a plan? Did you have anything? Then where is it? Can I access it? So it's like we add on.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the misconceptions. And to all of that, I just say we don't have all the time in the world. We have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
So let's make the most of the time that we have.
Mm.
Yes, it can be costly in terms of financially and even just your time, but it's worth the investment. And even from the financial piece, there are things you can do on your own or things that do not cost any money. I think I'm sure I've shared this with you, or anyone who's come to any of the legacy conversations I've done. I talk about my grandmother and that she didn't have a will, but she did almost everything that you can do outside of having a will to make sure that when she did pass away, my dad and his sisters had very little to do. They didn't have a lot to figure out.
That's
She had
good.
already made plans with respect to her house. She had prepaid and planned her funeral. She had a burial plot. Her vehicles, she had already either, I think she set up like payable on transfer on death title, or she had already added a co-owner for her vehicle. She had added joint owners for all of her accounts. One of my aunts, or like between her children, they had the information. They had it. I think the only thing she didn't do was maybe write out a list of who was supposed to get what in the house.
Yes.
But that is for those who are saying, I can't afford an attorney, or I can't afford somebody, I don't have a financial advisor. There are things that you can do, and there are resources like this, like what you are doing right now.
Yes.
Which is also part of why I do the Legacy Conversation series, is because I know there are a lot of barriers to access. So, hey, I'm going to give you some stuff for free, information for free. So that way, if you really cannot afford it or you're not ready to, at least when you can start doing some things on your own.
Yes. And I'm also going to link Legacy Conversations. And when we start that back up, that's going to be a thing, because during like our conversations during that time, I kept in mind like, oh, these are like really good things to put in place if you don't have much money. Usually there's like an inverse relationship between time and money. So if you don't have the money to pay someone else to do it, maybe you have the time to learn about it. And what I like about us as professionals is that we kind of bridge that gap. And I don't know if you have this yet, but this is something that you can take and run with, making that list or making like a free checklist of, if you don't have that, do what my grandmother did, because that's in the Black community.
My grandmother's plan.
That's in the Black, because we have our older relatives. This is for whoever's watching in the world. We're in America. We're Black Americans, African Americans, whatever you want to call us. My family, I'm in Baltimore by way of South Carolina from my family. So there's a lot of history with us as a people, and trying to build legacy and trying to maintain those things, and having to learn how to make sure that our families are taken care of. So what your grandmother did, having those lists, getting her burial plot, even making things payable upon death or transferable upon death. Those are things that honestly, a lot of us don't know. Right. And if that is something that if you put that together, I'm definitely going to be like, let me go ahead and download this list.
I need to, which is interesting. You mentioned that also. I don't know if I knew or remembered that your family is from South Carolina, because grandma I'm talking about is from South Carolina. And then on my mom's side is North Carolina. So but yes, I have I want to say I don't even know if I put it out, but the last legacy conversations I did for 2024, it was talking about these are the things that you can do without spending any money, or the stuff that you can do on your own. So I need to make sure that it's posted. And then
if you recorded it, well, run that thing through ChatGPT to make your list. Put it out there.
And so I will put that out there. But as you were talking, I thought, I'm like, yes, even the misconception we have that like we don't have enough to do it or we don't need to do it, our families have been doing it.
Yes.
The same way we took the scraps and turned it into soul food, been making lemonade out of lemons. Our ancestors have for years. It didn't always conform to what the law said, but there have been practices in place to preserve legacy. A lot of it was oral, though storytelling. I saw something the other day about with Black people and recipes. There's no recipe books because we don't have recipes. You just
that's how she did it.
Yeah, like the way I learned to cook was my mom would give me a list of ingredients. This is what you put in there. A pinch of this, a little bit of that. I still don't know how much a pinch.
I don't know what a pinch is, but I know when I do it.
So it's like I said, as you were talking, it was just bringing me like, we do this. It wasn't always in writing. It wasn't formal, but so I guess for me, I feel like for you and I roll now, it's like, let's take that, let's document it.
Yes.
So that way it's undeniable, not just for us as a family, but for this country. They're definitely living. And so that they can't, even saying it, I think about the fact of the amount of land that has been essentially stolen, given away because we didn't understand what the law was or the rules. And we were essentially led to believe we had to give it up, or we thought they're offering me this, so I should take it. Whereas if they offering you 50,000, you could probably get 200,000. So and I guess that's where the passion that I have for it is. And there's still things that I'm learning, but like, how can we essentially we're already doing these things. How can we do it so that it is undeniable? And to minimize the confusion and the fussing and fighting within families. And also so that when the government, whether that's the local, state, or federal, is coming, because they're going to make sure that they get theirs.
Yeah.
And you know that way better
than
I
do.
They gonna get theirs. Let's make sure we make it undeniable.
Seriously. It's important for us to know.
Yes.
Yeah.